all done. There you go.
I'll call the meeting to order for the Board of Selectmen.
And likewise for the budget committee.
This time, please join me in a pledge of allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good evening, folks. Kind of nice to start a meeting at 6 o'clock and look out and see all the daylight. Getting daylight, at least another 45 minutes or an hour. Just a reminder, I know the last couple of meetings. Just a reminder. If you want to ask questions, please be called on. We have a bunch of questions going on. I'm sure that today's presenters will get a lot of questions. And tonight, looks like we're gonna be covering recreation, transfer station, whatever else we can get done. So start with the rec department.
43.
43. Marcus Bennett.
That's me.
You?
All me. So not a whole lot of changes for me this year. It stayed fairly similar. As far as the stuff that I put in here, I scrolled down to operating expenses. There was a big chunk taken out of supplies. That was last year. I had a need for a new laptop, so that came out because I don't need another one this year. And then flipping the page, the equipment rental, that went up a little bit. I'd like to keep a porta potty at Sukforth Field year round now that we have a playground there. 'Cause, if we have a winter like this, it makes sense to pull it out, but if we get another mild winter where kids can use the playground year round, I think it's a good idea to have one there for use. Just below that, you'll see equipment maintenance and the tools and equipment. Those lines kind of flip-flopped. That's the MyRec software. That's my website that allows me to do online registrations. It's been a great tool. This is the first year I've used it, and I don't ever want to go back. It's a fantastic program. If I have any questions, I pick up the phone, call them, and they walk me right through what I need to do. It's been truly great program. And then other than that, land maintenance is a big item. That's all my turfus, fertilizers, grass seed, all the stuff that's going on at the rec fields. And then my transportation services, that's mostly my senior citizen bus trip. So that stayed the same. And that's pretty much it for changes. Yeah, any questions?
Right, your lane maintenance.
Mhm.
You've never used all of your money. That's probably John, but I see you had 12,000, you only used 5,300 and 23 more. You have 11,200.
Yeah.
This year's budget.
It's gonna go more. A lot of those are springtime purchases. I know it
What
didn't,
do you think you're gonna spend above the 3,190 you already spent? 2,000 or 3,000,
probably more than that, but
4,000?
yeah, five,
So if we made-
5 or so.
If we made that 8,000 instead of 11,000?
Yeah.
Is that doable?
It is the only caveat to that is that Bagley Field. Bagley Field hasn't seen a baseball game on it in 3 years. So I did have plans to maybe, I had some more people to talk to about it, but my idea was to rip the infield grass out of that the infield and turn it into more of a multi-use field. I could put anchors in at 60, 70 and keep the 90 feet base cut. So you could do little league, you could do adult softball, you could still do baseball. But to do that would require some I'd have to rent a sod cutter for a day, and then it would be a bunch of infield mix. So maybe, yeah, that's the only major plan I have that could add to it. But again, I'm not quite there yet on if that's gonna happen, so.
What,
That's follow along with that, that's my notes, must have been reading my notes.
Yeah, I did.
And it
That's
was
good seeing from here.
And even in 2023, you only use 73% of it.
Yeah.
So that's why
Yeah.
I proposed that you change it to 8,200.
There. So it's some of the, depends on the year. Some years I always put it in there in case I need it, but some years I don't buy, I don't end up doing the fertilizer. Some years I end up doing more turfus and infield mix. Yeah, that one's kind of a fluid line for me, but like I said, the history's there, so if,
I think the other reason we also wanted to leave a little extra cushion in that was for the chips for the playground.
Playground. Or signage. We still need
Yeah, because we still have
things for
the
the.
playground that we just installed. The refreshment of chips.
Marcus, what would, make the difference whether you do that or not with the infield?
with the infield, just kind of, the last phone call I have to make is to the athletic director. I just want to make sure I'm not being short-sighted. The high school and the MPA have rules on when baseball can be played on school fields. And I don't want to alter, our field if all of a sudden they're not gonna be able to play Babe Ruth on their fields and they need our fields. They'd still be able to play without the grass infield. It's just not as nice. Which is why I'd leave it cut that way. So I'm waiting to talk to him, and then obviously I have a project of that magnitude I'd get select board approval for. I haven't brought it to them yet either. It's still in the early planning stages, but
So does that basically reduce the amount of grass in the infield? and
yeah.
Make it
So like a normal
wider?
baseball field, the infield grass that's around the pitcher's mound, outside of it, you have your base path. All
Right.
that infield grass I would take out and fill with, it would just be one big dirt infield. But to do, so then I could put in, because the bases that are there now are 90 feet apart. So I could put in 60-foot bases and 70-foot bases. You just put anchors in the ground, so I could go down, I wouldn't need 3 sets of bases. I could go down, move first base up to 70 feet if I have
Yeah.
adult softball. If there's a minors little league game there, I could, pull them up to 60 feet. And we'd get a lot more use out of it in the springtime. That's the field I use for my 3-4 soccer field. And when I took over, we had 1 or 2 Babe Ruth teams using it in the spring and 2 or 3 fall baseball teams using it in the fall. And it got a ton of use, but there has been no fall baseball for 3 years. And Babe Ruth is down to 1 team and they're just using the high school. So it hasn't seen the baseball use. So I'd like to see it get more use, and this is a way to do that. But yeah,
Just a correction on here, but mine's 60-20 porta potty for the. We're not paying for a porta.
no, that was left over from the talk
That'd be the.
a couple years ago. I didn't get a raise.
The rec fields there.
Yep. Yeah, at Sioux Fourth, which is so.
Question about your programs.
Mhm.
You've got. Talk baseball.
Mhm.
Little League. Does the Waldeboro Rec Department support the Little League
Yeah, we have in the past, and still a little bit currently, but there's been some new talks as of today about
financially?
no finance outside of my hours of service that the town pays for. No,
We're paying the rec director to be part of the Little League.
to help. Yeah,
How many hours do you think?
I mean, not my whole salary for 3 months, but a good portion of it.
So
Yeah, I have other.
hopefully it's just a
No.
little bit.
Yeah,
if
no,
anything.
I mean, it's been a big part of what I do.
As we are more.
March, April, May, those 3 months, a little bit of June. That it's a big part of what, but I'm still planning for summer rec. I got soccer going on, other programs, pitch hit and run. It's like I said, it's not all I do, but
Because
I have helped a ton.
They are not, because they're their own entity,
Right.
because they're nonprofit.
Yep.
How about maintenance of the fields? We do take care of the fields.
No, I take care of Sioux Fourth, because that's ours. I've done a little bit on Foster, like I helped paint some of that concession stand and dugouts, but
On Walgrove time.
just, like, you know, the direction I got when I was hired was that, you know, I was, part of my job was to help Little League, so
So can we charge the Little League for your time?
So
we're, I'll talk to Julie.
we had this discussion today, actually this morning. I think it was historically, prior to my arrival and prior to Marcus's arrival, it was, Val might remember this. John Daigle will probably remember this. The town apparently used to donate money to the Little League. Then when Kyle came on as rec director, then he, in lieu of paying Little League, he took on some duties. Marcus has kept those duties. I think that some parents, from what I hear, would like to take some of that back, some of those responsibilities back. And my theory, and I explained to Marcus this morning, was if that's the way they feel, I think that's great. They should take it back. I don't know how many of you have ever been involved in children's sports. It is a thankless job. You know, and I said this to Marcus this morning, I realize what the town has done, and of course, we support children's sports, but I think when parents, when it gets to choosing teams and are the uniforms on time, or, you know, it becomes this issue that really isn't a town issue, it's a Little League issue, but then we're bearing the brunt, or Marcus is bearing the brunt of unhappiness. So he and I had that conversation this morning. I think there will be a lessened role that we're going to be playing in that. Marcus's concern was that the next couple of weeks are going to be a busy time. So we were exploring stepping away from as much help as we have given in the past. Because you're never, what was Peg, what did you say? Absence makes the heart grow fonder. But that is a, you know, kids' sports can be a interesting adventure, for sure. And as I said to Marcus, you know, there's a lot of other things, especially like the summer camp that he could devote more time to, prep for, and development of those programs. And there are different things that they could do during the summer if he had that time.
And another thing is you kind of facilitate the recreation committee.
Mhm.
How many members do they get on that committee?
Including myself, 7,
So you get 7 members there. You hold meetings how often?
once a month.
And especially now that I hate to say, I don't like to say the word, but the Sylvania Development Committee, you know, they're about ready to, there's a lot of stuff going on down there that they're gonna need the rec
Mhm.
committee to be involved with, because that's gonna be a recreation facility.
Yep.
So that time you're not doing Little League, that's all.
Yep.
Just my thought. Becky?
I don't see in this projected revenue, and I didn't see projected revenue in
Mhm.
the revenue side of the presentations when
Yep.
we started this adventure, so I'm just curious what
Sure.
what it typically looks like.
Yep, so I have, outside of the budgeted line, I have a enterprise account that all my revenues go into. And that's what all my program costs come out of. So like my one up here is like the summer rec program I run. That brought in $53,000 last summer, but I spent 42 of it to run the camp. And so that's kind of just, it's a separate account that's not voted on, that my revenues go into, but all my expenses come out every year. So,
And his summer staff is.
yeah, my summer staff is 100% paid through it. It's 100%.
And what? The follow-up question, John? And what happens to that overage?
It just stays in that account. I use it for, you know, if anything ever needs to get replaced, you know, when most of my programs make a little bit of money, but you know, it's like some make more than others.
Right.
So in the past, when summer camp used to be like 9-1, that one would always kind of run at a little bit of a deficit, but then my youth soccer, my adult softball would make up for it. Now that my summer camp's doing a little bit better, that account is growing a little bit. We've talked a little bit about some plans for that account in the future, but right now that it just kind of sits in there. Peg and I keep track of it and together and
John. So what's the balance in that account?
58,104, I think is what it up to. And it's exploded over the last 3 years with the summer camp gaining more money.
So why aren't we using that to offset some of these expenses?
I haven't done it in the past.
We've never had balance.
Yeah.
So the reason that we got we went from half day summer camp to full day 3 years ago. So, and one of the things we've also done is sometimes, like he said, there's shortfalls in other ones of his programs, specifically our senior trip and stuff like that for our over 55 and older seniors. So I think that we've never really looked at that to support the operating budget because we've never
Yeah.
had that opportunity.
Yeah, when I took that account over, it had 12,000 in it and it stayed pretty much there, just a slight increase for the first 5 or 6 years. And then the last two or three with the summer camp going to a full day that's what's made the money. The little bit we talked about was to put it into once it gets to a certain point, maybe transition some of it to a capital fund for future projects for the rec.
Yeah, can I make a suggestion that we determine a reserve amount and that the balance goes to covering the budget? It seems like that's a lot of, you're not, you don't need that.
We talked about putting it into the capital. We just haven't gotten that far yet. Yeah, Abden?
I believe when we've dealt with issues with this, with kids being able to go, a lot of this, some of this stuff comes from the Philbrook Foundation. Maybe we should be using some of that.
Yep.
For scholarships for kids to
Yep.
go to summer camp.
Yep, that's what I always did. It came out of that fund. But when we started that 3 years ago, that the fund wasn't anywhere near that.
Right. Maybe we should
And we
revert
were
back
giving
to
out so much at a time, but
that. Maybe we
yeah.
should revert back to that.
Yep.
Instead of them coming to the Philbrook Foundation or the select board to do it, then they could do it through that.
Yep.
It's just an idea.
What amount?
If we've got that money.
What amount would that be?
it's been an average of about 9,000 a year in scholarships.
So there still needs to be quite a bit of change.
Yeah, that's pretty much my entire profit from the summer camp. So without that, it wouldn't be a ton, but a little, it would gain a little bit year after year.
I just want to remind everybody that the Philbrook Fund was set up specifically to help the youth of Waldoboro and people in need. So, and the only thing I want to check before anybody we start moving money around is I wouldn't want to make sure how the enterprise fund was set up, that we're allowed to move it from the enterprise to the operating or to the capital. So,
That's kind of why I went with scholarships.
but
Because that would probably.
I can research that and let you know.
I would think it would be a warrant. You'd have to write an article warrant to allow that transfer.
I wasn't here when when that was originally set up, so we'll have to look at that. We'll have to go into the archives, Pam.
Are you seeing any change in your costs for materials right now? I know things are kind of
Yeah,
nuts countrywide.
as far as the land maintenance stuff, not a ton. A few years ago, it really spiked, but since then it's leveled out.
Is there anything you purchase that comes from out of country?
I mean, outside of cheap soccer balls that, were made. No, like all my land maintenance stuff is locally sourced, I
I'm
think.
not worried about where you shop. I'm
Yeah.
thinking about things that get marked up.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I mean, all my equipment all my land maintenance is purchased through Sports Fields. They're out of Monmouth. And then all my, balls, bats, all that stuff are through US websites. So wherever they're coming from, Direct Sports in Georgia. And then my medals that I give the kids for participation come out of New York. So nothing's coming internationally that I'm aware of.
Question is, where are they getting their material?
Yeah.
What I'm getting at is when you're talking about moving money out of an account to cover other things. It sounds like there's a lot of extra money right now, but we don't know what that money's gonna be worth. I would wanna watch it for the next year before I made a change like that, given everything that's happening.
Bob?
I vote with you on that one, Ruba. I think it's premature to jump at this point. Do you think it's conceivable that over the next 10 years, you're gonna have a full day summer camp?
I don't see it changing.
Then you've got a potential revenue source.
Yeah.
And yeah, let's keep an eye on that.
Yeah.
So
So,
let's-
like I said, I didn't plan on sitting on this. I had plans to move it somewhere. I just hadn't got that far yet. It's a new development.
See where we end up with it.
Yep.
A nice situation to be in.
It's also a nice situation if we can take some of that money and add programming,
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
because it is programming
Yeah.
money.
So
It would be nice to add programming.
one of the programs I added last summer was our outdoor summer movie series. We offered 3 outdoor movies at our rec fields through the summer. I did my best to find sponsorships for that, but the licenses for those are $400 a piece just to show the movie. So that's one of the programs that did lose money. So having that surplus from the other programs allows me to do a lot more community events like that.
That's great.
It would be even better. Kelly has a question, but it would be even better if the mosquitoes weren't out at the
Yeah.
field.
Yeah, that kind of wrecked one of them.
Kelly has a question.
Go ahead, Kelly. You there? I don't see her.
Yeah, I'm
Can you hear me?
here. Sorry. Can you hear me? Can folks hear me?
Not muted.
Kelly, you there?
I'm here. You can't hear me. Hey,
Not muted. Kelly, can you hear us?
She says she can hear us.
Did you have a question? We can't hear you.
No, we can't.
Correct.
Well, we're trying to figure out Kelly. Mike-
Well, she's gonna type.
Oh, wait, she's typing?
Yeah.
Okay.
She has a comment. She'll type.
Go ahead.
Just wanted to commend Marcus for the work that he has done.
Thanks, Kelly. She was on my rec committee for years.
He says, because everything he does brings value to our town.
I was just curious how many people came to the summer movies.
So the first one, we had like 10 to 15 people there, which was pretty good, like 4 or 5 families. The second one, I think we had 1 family, almost no attendance. Then the third one, we bounced back to the 10 or 15. So I learned a lot of lessons. I tried to run, my goal last year was to do 4, one in June, July, August, and September. June got rained out 3 times, so we ended up moving it to July. The one in July was, we had the most buzz, the most excitement. People showed up and the mosquitoes were awful. And in July,
That was the buzz.
that was the buzz. And then, you outside at dusk next to a swamp, that's what you're asking for. But, and also even in July, it was 9:30 before we could start the movie, just because the sun took forever to go down. The one in August went really well, just didn't have the attendance. And then the one in September went well, and we had a little bit better attendance. So I think coming this year, I'd still like to do 4 movies, but June and July, I think, are out, and I'm just gonna do maybe every other week in August and September. And then there was talk about doing some type of fall festival where we do like maybe a Halloween type movie, or like a little town event, finished with a movie at the fields. But we had talked about it last year, and we had looked into November, and it just got too late, and we looked at like getting bounce houses for the kids, and once November hits, they don't rent out bounce houses anymore. So we're gonna look at doing that again this year, but move it into October. So
I think I've worked out my sound problem. Can you hear me now?
Any other questions? With that said, I'd like to amend the amount to 97,675. Take 250 off of the maintenance. To 25%.
I'll second it.
Well, is that backwards? Or
Yeah, I think you meant to take off.
Reduce it to 8,200.
282 or?
Off 8,200.
No, take 8250. No, make it 8250.
Okay.
Sorry, yeah.
All right, I can live with that. 2,500, no.
8,250 for supply, for land maintenance?
Yeah, yeah,
Okay.
which make the total 97,675. Instead of 105, 925 is 97,675.
That's-
8,000.
That's, it does take an 8,000 out.
Oh.
I have a different, I have
Yeah.
103,000,
Yeah.
175,
That sounds better.
Sorry, what was that number again, Peg?
103,175.
That's my motion.
I second it.
Select board. Any more discussion on the select board on that? All in favor? Opposed? That will give you for it. Let me see right now. So 4-1 for 103,175.
That takes the 11 to 8,200. 8,250, okay.
Okay, so. So we have 103,175. Recreation, do we have a motion in the budget committee? Thank you.
Second.
Thanks, Scott. Any more discussion? All those in favor?
I think I figured out my microphone. Can you hear me now?
4, 5,
Nope.
6, 7, 8, and Kelly votes yes, that's 9-0.
Hey Pam. Yes. Can you grab the TV remote? We might have shut Kelly or Marcus. Can you see if we raise?
You voted.
And Kelly voted yes, but Kelly, can you just say something? I just want to see if the TV was turned down and we couldn't hear you.
Can you hear me now? Can you hear me?
Apparently they can hear her on YouTube. They just can't hear her here.
We gotta worry what she says to the public.
Oh, she's fine.
Giving live commentary. There was
She could be
nothing-
giving live commentary. It's okay.
All right, thank you, Marcus. Sorry for the confusion on the numbers. I guess up next we have transfer station.
So I guess we're here.
Is that in the back of the book under transfer station?
Under transfer station.
Own special tab.
Yeah. Well, now we can talk trash. As most of you know, I am gonna be retiring from the highway department. I will be working at the transfer station. Hopefully we can make some changes up there. It's hard for the boys, to push some of the rules and regulations. There's a lot of people they know here. It doesn't bother me, because I don't care who you are, whether you're a selectman or a town manager, I'll treat you the same. So it doesn't bother me. So we're hoping to make some changes. So you will see an increase on there. And that will be for my pay, of course, being up there part-time. Also, the biggest costs are the tipping fees, which there's nothing that I can do about that. Because we have to get rid of our trash somewhere. And the next biggest cost, which this year is gonna be almost $200,000, will be the transportation costs for the demo and the solid waste. I've always said when it gets to $150,000 dollars in costs and transportation, that we should be looking doing it ourselves. So we're up to 200,000, pretty close now. I think it's about time that we think about doing it ourselves.
Long overdue.
It's long overdue. Yep,
I've been pushing that, but how long?
I know. But trying to do it,
It's a break even, you know?
yeah, trying to do it efficiently is kind of difficult. So that's where we're at. Now, you guys want me, ask me about cuts? I'll give you a few right off the bat. Same ones that I've been giving you for 30 years, but. Nobody has anything?
I'm asking you about,
Well, there's about 180 towns now that's gone to pay as you throw. The reason they've gone to pay as you throw, well, not 180 towns, 180 transfer stations. The reason they've gone pay as you throw, was to save money. It does save money, increases the recycling. It doesn't increase the roadside trash. It does it first, but we get the police to start finding them, you know, when they start paying $250 fines for throwing out a bag of trash, people learn quick. I've learned throughout the years is, you know, we make people pay. It's the same thing, you know, you stop somebody for speeding, you pay, they're gonna start paying attention. Trash, the same thing. You know, we've got people who take in whole toilets, dumping them in a plastic bag and throwing them down the hopper. You know, really? You know, but that's costing other people in taxes. You've got people rake up leaves. We have an area for leaves. Instead of setting them in that area, they'll throw them down the hopper. I've got people that wives recycle and the husbands come in and they don't want to bother with it. They throw it down the hopper. Years and years ago, I went up there with the highway department. We made some difference. Took 2 days. Selectmen and town manager changed their mind. Because pissed off and we upset too many people. But we was able to cut it. You know, it's we've been doing education for all these years. Hasn't worked. We're up over $1 million. You know, bad part about this is I can remember when this budget it was only $50,000. You're up over $1 million now.
When you started at $50,000, was the first and was the landfill and this construction debris landfill both
Yes.
open?
Yeah.
So that was back before we had to pay to throw it away.
Yes.
I do remember that.
And just so you know, it wasn't this town manager or this select board
No.
that made you
No.
made you stop enforcing the rules.
No.
Anybody?
Old Route 1.
Yeah, I remember that one. That was open too.
Seth might remember it,
Yeah, Seth.
and Val maybe,
Yeah.
and Jan.
Yeah, right.
No?
So, John, I also think that pay as you throw makes a lot of sense. Do you have a financial picture of the change that would, or of how that would affect taxes, how much people would pay per bag?
Well, no, I haven't gone that far yet, but if
Okay.
you wanna cut this budget by, what is it, 500,000? All you gotta look is the stuff they're paying the tipping fees for and transportation costs. And that covers it.
How much do you think it would reduce roughly to go to pay as you throw? Do you have a guess?
No,
Half a million.
he doesn't have a guess. I don't want to ever quote numbers without actually having numbers. I think it's unfair to John to put him in that, and then people will translate that into their taxes going down. And until somebody can actually, and that would be everybody sitting in this room, can agree what you're going to do with that money, I don't think we need to, I just would avoid that conversation. I understand what you're trying to get at.
I'm looking at a ballpark,
I don't even, because once-
$500,000?
no, there isn't, because once you get that out there, that's the number. So if we're gonna have this discussion, it has to be a serious discussion.
Yeah.
That is based on facts, because once that's out there, that becomes the fact, and it's very hard to undo what the potential here is. We're not going to cut this budget, in my humble opinion, because we have to have this on a warrant.
Mhm.
It has to be agreed on by our partners, Cushing and Friendship. That is not something that's going to happen in May. So our budget has to be done by May. I think it's an excellent conversation if you want to have it in the future, but that's a discussion that has to come from the select board.
Yep.
And it has to be, so I applaud you bringing it up. But again, I think that's on the agenda for tomorrow night to discuss about having someone from Waste Zero come to a meeting, but
Mhm.
we have to do this because the last thing I want is somebody saying your taxes will go down. Because my experience has been, and I'm old, since dinosaurs roamed the earth. I don't have as much time as John does in public service, but when somebody tells me that taxes are gonna go down, the hair on my neck stands back, because I've seen it too many times it's be promised and then it doesn't happen. Somebody always finds a way to spend it someplace else, so let's. Yep, that's true. It's very true.
So, we're not gonna talk dollar figures. But we can get a idea of, based on your experience, on what percentage of the garbage is recyclable. And what percentage of the garbage is compostable. You can give a ballpark percentage of an idea of its impact, its potential impact on the budget. And those approximate amounts.
We used to be at 30%.
We used to be, we're at 22.5 now.
That's a state mandated minimum.
State mandated is 50%. And we're not gonna get 50%. The ones who are gonna get 50% are the ones who does recycle the shingles, recycle all the demo and everything else. We can turn around and get the shingles recycled. It's gonna cost us a lot of money. It's not worth it for that percentage. The wood the same way. We used to do the wood. And it is the same thing. The other part of the wood was if there's plastic, certain percentage of plastic, like 2%. If a piece of pressure treated in it, 1%, then they consider it hazardous waste. And then we have to turn around and pay hundreds and hundreds of
Well,
dollars for
I'm not
that.
looking, I'm not.
I know, nobody
I'm
does,
not looking
nobody
at the little
does.
stuff,
You're
that
in it.
stuff, yeah,
It's not little stuff, it's big money.
yeah.
Okay, you can't say it's little stuff. We're talking hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Pardon me.
I know, I have to deal with that and worry about that. So it's not little stuff by no means. If you, the cost compost material, they say is almost half of what your trash is on account of the weight.
Hmm.
You know, we're gonna be sending our stuff to Hamden, where they're gonna be taking that stuff out. You know, we're doing our part. We really are.
Before COVID, we were at 30%.
Yes,
roughly.
before COVID. Before COVID, it was at 30%. You know, right now we're 22.5. You know, the only thing you can do is talk to people, tell them you don't want to recycle, you're gonna pay. That's all there is to it. You know, you can talk to your balloon face. You tried it.
I'm
How'd it
still
work?
trying.
How did it work?
Velcro Day, see me there.
Yeah. How did it work? You know what I mean? How did it work? I've been doing it for 20, 30 years.
Michael, you have your hand up?
Thanks, John. Yeah, obviously, we're not gonna make a budgetary decision and we shouldn't talk numbers, but I believe that the tension or the question here is actually about the role of individual responsibility in a community for each other.
Yeah.
And we are thinking about and passing a budget for the community as a whole. And we are conscious of increasing taxes for sure, because citizens are holding us and the town responsible for the budget we pass and the taxes that accrue from that. We should also be holding citizens responsible. In other words, we should all be holding each other responsible for how we act in the world. So I'm just saying this because I think that there are a lot of services that the town, that everyone bears the burden for, when the way certain people, the decisions that they make do impact the community at large, for positive and negative.
Mhm.
And I'm speaking generally and abstractly purposely. So it's just to say that I do think this is a really important conversation, not about necessarily just this one issue, but about many issues that do affect the budget and what we're comfortable passing and what we're not comfortable passing, and what it's appropriate to talk about and what it's not appropriate to talk about, when it does in many instances come down to the individual decisions people make and how those affect others. So it's not for this room to decide that, but it does make me think that there is a larger conversation to be had in a community about one's responsibility and what you might owe your neighbor in terms of how you act. And that, is it fair that everyone pays the price for someone or some group's behavior over others?
And you
Is the compost that is collected part of that recycling?
Yes.
Number?
Yes.
I'm sorry.
Yep.
I haven't been hauling as much over.
It
I've hauled 3,000 pounds.
I know.
That adds up.
does.
So I just want to point out to everybody in my letter in the front, we said, because I knew that pay as you throw would come back up. No matter, I think it's a great discussion to have moving forward, but this budget, it also gives us time with this budget and with the changes we're making at the transfer station, and I said this the first night, to have somebody as a gatekeeper to say, you know, we are going to enforce the recycling. So, you know, I think that is a great first step to getting people aware so that somebody's there saying, hey, you know, you have your bag of trash. What do you have for recycling? Not just, yay, I have recycling and go in. So I think we're going to be more vigilant about that, which I think is a really good thing. So you might see some of that recycling come up and some of the chipping fees go down.
Mhm.
That's the hope. And that gives us time to have the broader conversation that needs to be had. You know, we started this process last year with one meeting. We've never got past that. So I know we're going to talk about Waste Zero coming and doing a presentation in the future, but I think at least this represents what it needs to represent for this time frame, because we can't not adopt a budget that represents a full year, because we
Right.
don't know what our partners would do. And that was something that we all had to agree upon in the joinder agreement. So not only would you have to convince Waldeboro, but you'd have to convince Cushing and Friendship too.
Well, they were on board in the past.
John?
Two things. One is that
Really?
we discussed this last year and we did the same thing, which was wait another year. So I'd like to express to the select board to create some urgency around this issue. Secondly, John, so you're gonna be part-time at the transfer station. How many hours are you gonna be there?
28
28.
a week.
So, and how many hours per week is the transfer station open?
40.
So, for a portion of the time that you're not there,
Trying to figure out what day to go.
we're, no, I mean, you know, you understand where I'm going with this.
Yeah.
Is that we're gonna have some impact.
So I think you also have to realize too, is that he'll be a shared employee, especially for this first couple of months. That's what the average is. So we need him to some degree, still in Public Works. For the summer construction period. And also he's our CDL train the trainer guy. And one of our, the only person who can operate our bulldozer. So, some of that will be, once that's over, there might be more time at the transfer station. So we've budgeted it so that it's going to give more.
Right. My point is only about impact
Mhm.
and it's, it's all about the fact that every pound that goes
Mhm.
to a landfill costs us money, costs us tax dollars.
Mhm. Believe me, I know.
Mike?
I got a few things, you talked about enforcement, I was delivering some things, some construction demolition debris. One of the chip projects. And my wife was with me and, over by the, wood pile, there was a chair. And she had her eyes on that chair, not because she wanted it, but she says, that's a perfectly good chair, Mike, we're gonna take it over to the Restore and let them sell it. And she got yelled at.
Right.
By one of your guys.
Yep.
It wasn't me, she wasn't being mean or anything, but he says, we don't need the liability of people. Crawling all over the piles, there's nails, there's whatever else, shards of glass and whatever in there. And I think some sort of shed there, we could at least recycle some of that stuff post-consumer, okay? That's number one. Also, as a chip volunteer, I have occasion to bring old brass fittings, old copper pipes and things like that, and I throw them in the metal pile. If I go to the pit after that and come back with another load, that copper's gone. You know why?
Shouldn't be.
Because it's got a lot of value.
Yeah.
I don't know what it is. I don't know what the cost per ton is, but I'll bet it's over $3,000 a ton. Could we set up and metals are heavy and there's a lot of tonnage in them. Can we set up a dumpster that accepts old motors, copper wiring?
Nope.
Cannot do that.
Nope. That's right, we get money for that anyways.
You get money for it anyway?
We do.
Brass is Grass is a lot more expensive than white metal.
Oh, yeah.
It's a lot more potential revenue.
Yep,
producing.
yep.
And then the third thing I wanted to talk about was what's happening with MRC? I haven't followed them since our last budget meetings.
There will be a very exciting announcement made on April 2nd.
Hmm.
Less than a month from now. And more than that, I'm sorry, I cannot.
I suppose I should be paying
We will
attention.
be utilizing them this year.
Yeah, the plant
Will
will
be-
start up in October, slowly. And the organic part of it won't be active probably until the end of this year, beginning of next year, the anaerobic digester.
Okay.
But the MRF will be up and running. They'll be separating out materials, recyclables from the rest. And once that anaerobic digester gets up and running, they'll be manufacturing renewable natural gas and shoving it into a pipeline that's like 50 feet from the plant. So
Understood,
there's,
understood. But is that gonna lower our tipping fee?
no.
No.
What was the municipal? It was meant $7 wasn't it, when we first started with this plant up there?
Yes.
And it was, we have
Yeah.
built into that tip fee, the consumer price index, or a related index that reflects cost increases.
Yeah.
So you'll see it going up every year unless inflation goes away.
Oh, yeah.
But we are far less expensive. I know some communities over the other river up there that pay $250 a ton just to get rid of their recyclables.
Yep.
We don't pay close to that, not even close.
Two things. One is, Mike, in the next phase of the transfer station development, a swap shop is included in that.
Yeah.
Where you could put things that are gently used that won't necessitate people climbing over dumpsters and in dumpsters. And Kelly had a question. She said, page
I think-
3 shows an
can you hear me
overall
now?
increase of expenses of 103,723, and page 4 shows an increase in revenue of 103,723. I'm guessing the two are somehow related but need help understanding. So this, the transfer station fund has to balance. So if our expenditures go up, our revenue has to go up. And some revenues are set, so we know what we're going to get in tipping fees from the public. So that 103,000 increase is taken up through what our contribution, Cushing and Friendship's contribution is. So typically increases, there's not a lot to increase revenue in the transfer station, so it's typically what we're paying our portion of the share of the transfer station. I hope that explains it.
That's line 3911. It's our share.
On a question, other towns that have gone to pay the back, you must have some analysis somewhere showing previous tipping fees that they were paying compared to what they're paying now and what that reduction is. Sure, at some point to provide some detail on that as this conversation continues to happen,
Yeah, we probably can.
to see what the reduction
Yep.
cost.
Tomorrow night, select board are gonna be discussing having a presentation done in the very near future. We'll set a date, as long as the select board approve it, it'll be a date that's gonna be time enough for people to react to it, to get here, to advertise it, so we can have good presentation on how pay as you throw works overall. By, who's the gentleman coming in?
It's actually Taylor Mills Pop.
Out of.
She's their director of municipal relations.
So they'll give us a presentation, and at that point, the select board will have to determine what direction we're gonna go on this. Because this is not gonna affect this year's budget.
But I think we need to make sure we have a space that will hold enough people, because the last time we had a meeting here, it was very snug. So we'll have to have a space, and we have to give adequate notice to not only our public, but Cushing and Friendship.
Yeah. Yeah, it's not gonna happen, we're not gonna have the meeting a week from now, or 2 weeks from now, it's gonna be enough time for everyone to get notice, and we have space for it. Well,
John, do you have a here's numbers again. Do you have an estimate of what it would cost for us to provide our own trucking versus contracting that?
Have at it. We discussed that this morning too.
Great.
Quite a bit cheaper. It would be quite a bit cheaper.
So John's looking at 2 trucks.
Yeah.
And an excavator,
An excavator,
because you're gonna, and a larger trailer, an 80-yard.
80-yard trailer.
80-yard trailer that we would compact with an excavator.
Okay.
That would allow us to,
For the bulk waste.
for the bulky waste
For the demo.
demo.
Yeah.
The problem is you can pick up a used excavator for around 100,000. We end up hauling like 150 trips of trash, and we're around 111 to 138 containers of demo. So we're running into problems with the demos because we can't break it up enough with our loader. When we go up with our excavator, we can, but you're not getting much weight on them. So we're renting the containers. And of course, the charge, he's going to the same place. So he's charging us $650 to haul them also. We're up north. So my plan is you can buy a couple trucks, have wet systems put on them. Used trucks, probably got 500,000 miles on them, but they work. So you can dump 100,000 into buying 2 trucks and an excavator. I bought 3 trailers, used ones. And it'd probably take $5,000-6,000 to do a little bit of work to them, and I could change one of them to an open top. And then that way it'd be a 80-yard container instead of a 30 to 40-yard container. It would also cut our trips for the demo. I should cut that, probably in half. The trips to Hamden. The problem contracting it out is them trailers gets changed different times when they're full. And the company, we have to call them up. They have to send somebody just come out and swap out the trailers. And they have to pay a guy. They don't always haul that trailer out that same day. Because it's in the afternoon, it just doesn't make sense because they can't make it up there. So they charge us for that. And that's where the $650 costs. Well, doing that, if we done it ourselves, we wouldn't have that charge either. So we'd be quite a bit cheaper.
They don't charge $650 just to change the trip, pull the trailer out.
No, it's trailer, and when they come out,
But just, and there would be a person involved in driving the truck.
Yep.
It would be a cost of an employee and benefits.
Yep.
Would it be a full-time employee?
well, right now, we're sending 4 trash trailers in a week. That's in 5 days. And we're sending 3 demo cans to 4 demo cans a week. Yeah, I don't think one guy could do
Not
it.
gonna get away from it.
You can run up there, and sometimes you could have a 6-hour wait if you've got a lot of other trash trucks ahead of you. Takes an hour and a half when traffic's not bad, 2 hours when it is one way. So you could be talking, 4 to 8 hours easy. With the rules that they have, I think you can only drive 10 hours now. They're not like us. We can go 30 or 40.
Is there a possibility to schedule the trips like early in the morning? Leave at 5
We'd
in
have
the morning or
scheduled
something?
people coming in with trash. If you can tell me how to schedule people to come in with trash, I'll do it.
Well, if you pull a trailer out and
You
it's
pull a
ready to
trailer,
go.
if you pull a trailer out, you gotta have a truck to come in, haul it, pull it out, back another one in.
Yeah.
Then what are you gonna do? That guy's not gonna stay there till morning. You know,
No,
It was a town employee.
if it was a town, you could go home. But that guy has to go home wherever he lives. One guy lives in Jefferson. You know what I mean? We can't tell how much weight people are bringing in. Trailer, when it's full, it's full. I don't want them going out half. I don't want to pay for that.
no,
Maggie?
So if this is a change that you would like to implement
Mm-hmm,
in the budget year,
Ken,
what's the overage to buying all that equipment and getting it set up year one? Cause clearly buying the equipment is the expense. Are you saying that buying an excavator, buying trucks, buying whatever you need to buy is gonna come in at this budget?
Yep.
Or will there be overage initially?
no, I'd like to try to do it in this budget. But I do have $112,000 in the capital for a loader at the transfer station. I wouldn't have to replace the loader so quick if I bought an excavator. So I think I could do it within this budget.
We tried to use the old excavator, but
Yeah. DEP would
not like us.
really fine us. And it's not hundreds of dollars either. They fine Lewiston $26,000 or $27,000 for having a lawnmower battery. They got crushed in their metal pile.
really.
Yeah.
Well, if you'll remember, we bought an excavator a couple years ago.
You
Because
bought-
the old excavator had some issues.
Yeah.
And we kept her, but she just can't, she leaks she's a little leaky. I even asked him if we could put a diaper on it.
Yeah.
We were trying to find money. We
You
were
were.
trying to be very, very good.
What's a typical dump trailer cost versus cutting up one of our box trailers?
Yeah, you'd be probably 150, 180.
No,
Yeah.
no, that's not what I'm talking, how many yards?
80 to 100.
80 to 100 yards.
Yeah.
Would that be a live bottom one?
Yeah.
Yeah, they were,
They were quite a bit of
they
money.
were, well, that's why we went with the used trailers we found.
I'm a regular dump trailer that we could haul sand with, we could haul.
No,
lime
you
with.
can't, you can't use.
That's what I'm talking
Yeah,
about, is
you
a
can't.
regular dump trailer.
A regular dump trailer,
Axle
you'd be,
dump.
I don't know, 40 yards, maybe
40
50.
yards, that's what I was.
Yeah, they're not that big, because they can't lift the weight. You know, and that's, you know, yeah, we could haul it easy enough, but we wouldn't be gaining anything.
No, that's why I
Yeah.
asked.
Yes.
How many yards would they hold it?
John?
I just want to make sure I'm not misunderstanding something. So with an excavator, that allows you to bust up and compact the construction waste.
Yep.
To get the density you need,
Yes,
more efficiently, okay.
Yep.
Because I know there's some services that have these grinders.
oh, yeah,
Talked about that too.
Thank you.
Maybe you don't know this, but everyone been to Boothbase Transfer Station?
Years ago.
Oh,
They've
yeah.
got
They've got a grinder.
excavators, they got grinders, they've got ripper, they got all kind, I wouldn't even guess what their budget is. And they've got probably half a dozen trucks and more tractor trailers that run
Yeah.
all directions, all hours of the day.
We did talk about, I called it a chomper, he called it a grinder.
Yep.
But we talked about grinders, could we
Mhm.
do it that way? Was there other ways to?
We take loads of trees in there, they grind it up and all the chips, chip it up, all the chips up.
Yep.
That's a big operation.
It is. Millions and millions of dollars.
That's a lot.
Yeah.
So what do we spend on trucking? Total,
Between the demo and.
just
the-
trucking, not including,
Yep,
not the
yep.
dumping
No,
or anything.
no,
just
between the demo.
Yep.
And the trash that we haul at transportation
Mhm.
is around 200,000
In this budget.
in this budget.
And that would cover an excavator and 2 trucks.
If not, the excavator could come out of the capital.
Loader one.
So technically you could have 300, little over $300,000 to play with.
Wow, I like that. I like
Yeah.
that.
No,
Yeah, it works
that's
for
an
me.
accurate.
Julie
that's
never told me
accurate.
that.
That's-
Julie never told me that. but Thank you.
I didn't put it like that.
I'm serious.
You guys vote for it. Come on.
You got an employee too.
Well,
Yeah, I
three
didn't-
hundred thousand, if it takes 200,000
Yeah.
to get your equipment.
Yeah.
You got 100,000 to play with.
Yeah.
For a new employee if we need one.
Yeah.
Do we have any CDL drivers?
Yeah, I'm one of them.
There you go.
But-
This is part-time.
Yeah, but
Huh?
we need a new sheriff.
Yeah.
And plus they have to be a class A,
Yeah.
class
That's what I
A
mean, that's
CDL
what I mean,
driver,
yeah.
so
That's what I mean.
we are more
So we got
class
the money.
D.
We could potentially have the money in the budget to do that.
Yes.
Is that so, the select would make that decision?
Yes,
Okay,
Yeah.
that's all I needed to know.
there's money to do either.
Yeah.
If we wanted to.
That's why I asked the question I asked. If it wasn't gonna fit into this budget.
Right, well, I was trying to get it,
Then we're the folks that are gonna get the next request and where's that money?
I'm trying to get the
That's why I asked
number
if It
and-
was in here, yeah.
Yeah.
that's what I was trying to get at.
Yeah.
Does, if you do decide to buy the trucks and whatnot, does Friendship and Cushing have to be involved in that decision, or is that a management decision?
It's the management
Because
board,
we manage the,
so it's a management board, the management board, the transfer station management board, which is a representative of the select board of Friendship, Cushing and Waldeboro and myself are the management board. We would convene, go over it, make a recommendation to the select board and then go from there.
Any other questions?
Got one.
Oh.
How quickly, this is from Kelly, how quickly could the needed equipment be delivered? Thinking of the 4-year wait on an ambulance, which is specialized, but still wondering.
Let's go with this.
So you see used equipment there out there.
July, by the time the budget went in.
John could have them lined up. I don't know if you heard John by the time the budget was in. He knows people like that.
But
Just a comment and a huge thank you to John for taking this on. I mean, you're about ready to retire.
Yeah.
And
Oh,
you're stuck with a fine pen in the fight.
yeah.
That's a lot of dedication. Thank you.
Yeah.
So just for people who are new, John, this was your 49th year now,
Yeah, I think so.
49th year with
I
the
think
town
so.
of Waldeboro. There's a lot of knowledge that's been stored up there. It gets a little confusing because sometimes I don't know if he's talking about 2 weeks ago or 20 years ago. But like I said, a lot of institutional knowledge that people might not know, and he's been invaluable for providing that knowledge to me over the last 8 years, and it'll be great to
Mhm.
I know that the transfer station has always been one of those things that Public Works takes up a lot of time and it needs that focus, so.
Yeah.
And I know that the construction project there, which would allow when people come in to have a better customer experience, that you could pull up and then be able to load stuff into a dumpster from a higher level.
Mm.
And the swap shop is something that he's advocated for years. Thank you.
question? Ready for a vote?
Make a motion, 1,124,522. Second.
Any motion and seconded, any more discussion from the select board?
second.
Talk about it. Comment, think about it. You know, we got $522,468 coming from revenue. All in favor from the select board? Five.
Okay, we got, $1,124,522 is the figure the select board has given us. John,
Motion for that.
thank you. Thank you, Jan. Any more discussion? On the flip side. I just have one more comment. I really think
Big bold letters.
Yeah. we really do need to pursue the pay-as-you-throw option and get that out there again. It's been, I don't know, when did that first come up? 20 some odd years ago,
Oh, no. 90?
1990? Yeah. Okay, 30. Where's my math? 35 years ago?
Yeah.
Yeah,
But it was voted on by the three towns 7 years ago, 6 years ago.
We brought up 3 times.
I think some of it voted on once.
No, by the Waldeboro Selectmen voted on before.
2016.
I think we need to vote on it again. So,
Every time I bring it up when it's during one of these, I get the same spiel from the town manager, even back years ago.
Well,
I know.
it's just that numbers,
Yeah.
that's what lives with it, so.
I know.
I just want everybody to be aware that they're gonna get their shot at having an opinion and that
Mhm.
that number sticks.
Yep.
Whatever number that is, you know, I still hear the number from 6 years ago. 10 years ago, I wasn't even around for it, and I'm still hearing numbers, so. And they're not accurate numbers, so
Hmm.
inaccurate numbers
Yep.
stuck.
Yeah.
That's my issue with numbers.
any other comments? All those in favor of the budget figure? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8.
And Kathleen voted yes.
Yes. Okay, 9-0.
Okay, would anyone like to make a motion, take a 10-minute break and we'll come back?
What about revenue? Transfer station revenue? Do we have to vote on that?
Just vote on that now, take it done now.
You can get it now, yeah.
Yeah, we'll talk about. So we'll get to the transfer station revenue. Kind of discussion. Any input on that, John?
Well, the revenue, of course, we started out, we was doing good. When prices went up and what's happened, people are taking it to their own transfer stations and their own dumping areas, because our prices have increased, so they're not coming in as much. Example, last year, we took in $60,000 just for mattresses. So far this year, we're only at 30,000. You know, so, we were trying to be nice to bring in, keep the prices down, but people were sneaking in. And it's kind of hard. When you turn around, they borrow their French truck from Weather Cushion or Waldeboro, and they go to Camden and bring their trash here. We have caught in a few, but it's still difficult.
And you'll notice that Maine State Prison, we do take trash from Maine State Prison. That's under a contract with the state. We move that out separate from disposal fees. So the disposal fee number represents what we will take in from everybody else versus with Maine State Prison pulled out, and that should be a good number.
John.
Right.
So a couple of questions. One is on the things like mattresses.
Yep.
I may be incorrect, but I thought we were losing money on mattresses, and so raising the price is really saving us money, even if the revenue's down in that area.
Right, right.
And where do we stand with Cushing and Friendship as far as their equitable contribution to the transfer station?
They're right on schedule.
They're right on schedule.
As far, but I'm saying didn't we have a large blossoming of just garbage in the summertime from those areas?
Oh, that's up to the management committee. They've talked about it once. They haven't voted on it yet. Haven't come to agreement, but that probably they will this next time around. On that. I think you were there last time, weren't you?
I was, that's why.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what a question I was gonna have. They, like last year, 2 years ago, we talked about the number of residents.
Again, there's no good number.
And so you talk to depends on who you talk to down in the, I won't mention the town, but depending on what select board number you talk to. It could be this number, it could be that number.
Yeah.
What's the number? Do we go
So,
off population? Do we go off?
right, so
Residents.
some of it's population, and then the other argument would be that, but for half a year, you're getting no trash from those residents.
Yeah.
Does it even it out?
Mm.
Again,
You know what I'm gonna say. Hey, we wouldn't have that problem at all. We wouldn't even have to allocate percentage. Because paper. Like, just saying.
Any other question on revenue? Not, I'll make the motion of revenue of $1,124,522. That's left with. Moved and seconded, any more discussion? All in favor?
Okay, we get $1,124,522. They buy now familiar number. Do we have a motion?
Second.
Second, thank you. Any discussion?
With the increased emphasis on the discussion on pay as you throw, as it's been noted, it would solve another issue that we've been having. Thank you.
All those in favor? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Is that an I vote yes for?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you, Kelly. All right.
Yeah.
well, have a great night, John.
Oh, good for 10-minute break.
Thank you, John.
Yeah.
All in
Yes,
favor for break?
Yeah, most people don't participate.
Kelly, can you try talking to us again?
Call the meeting back to order. Kelly, you there? Can you hear us?
I don't know. Can you hear me? I've never had anyone applaud when I speak. Thank you.
It was Julie error. Old lady error on the keyboard. That was my fault. I'm glad you're here.
So. Now let's work on some of the other items that we didn't schedule. Town manager, which ones would you like to go over?
We want to start on page 1 with select board.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
So page 1 would be Office of Select Board, and you'll notice there's a $300 increase in membership dues. That is so that the select board can belong to the Maine Municipal Association and the town can belong, and that is a very, very useful membership because it comes with free legal advice. So we have a host of attorneys when we have a question that we can call, and we are not charged for that. Also, we raised up the training and educational line item for the select board because some of the trainings have gone up. And I just want to point out, again, I didn't put in the budget any salaries. The select board used to get paid a very nominal fee for their service, and then in 2020, that fee was reduced to volunteer. And it has stayed that since, so. What was it, 2022? Was it 2022? Okay, yeah, it was 2022 budget, sorry. I thought it was the 2020 budget. Time flies when you're having fun. So there is no compensation for the select board. And the other expenses, that's been, so professional services does cover, under 4020 legal consultants. Sometimes when we call MMA and their attorneys will say consult with your municipal attorney or town attorney, that line item is where we pay those consultations out of. So typically what MMA doesn't handle is any personnel issues, contracts, or any obscure question that they might have, one of the select board members or somebody in town might have, and we need a little bit better guidance. I will tell you that we use 3 different law firms. So depending on the expertise of what is needed and also price, we tend to make that decision when we need them. And then our miscellaneous line item has been used for fuel fund or unknown increases for fuel oil, diesel, and gasoline. So that's what those are for typically.
We haven't used that this year at all.
Not yet, but the year before,
I see that.
$9,600, so. I would recommend, given the world at this point in time, of leaving that there because I don't know what might come up. I mean, it can be used for other miscellaneous, what we've used it in the past was for the fuel. Because I forget what year we started that, but that was part of it.
Fuel for what?
Fuel oil, diesel, gasoline, because I think it was 2 or 3 years ago now, there was a question about how much fuel was going to be when it was up to $4 a gallon. Yeah, we just didn't know because we can't lock in our fuel oil so the town garage is still on fuel oil. We're here at least for the bays on fuel oil, or we couldn't lock in those prices.
Why wouldn't that be more appropriate in a different categories?
For the select board, right?
So the problem with that was, and why we put it in select board was because fuel oil and fuel is over so many different departments. And you guys the select board at the time and the budget committee at the time wanted to see what those expenses were in a line.
So it's contingency.
It's a contingency in a sense, yeah. And I would leave it there just because technically when we used it in the past, you would see it go into each individual line item in a department. You guys wanted to see it in a line item where we could see what actually happened. When we look back, we could say, hey, yeah, that actually, we spent it on this and this is what it was for. John?
Questions? Mike? How many town reports do you print each year and how many are left over on average?
I think we do.
0 left over. I don't know what the total, I can look at that, but,
How are they, they're just left out or are they sent out?
They're left out.
And
and they go.
they all go?
They all go.
Are they real?
No, we don't mail them.
Not anymore.
Not anymore.
No, they got cost prohibitive.
Oh.
I thought it was 3,000. I could be wrong.
I'm surprised we didn't write it in.
Any other questions?
We can do without Adobe. I mean, you've taken it out.
So the Adobe licensing is now part of telephone and IT.
Oh, it is?
We can't do without Adobe.
Oh, you're saying that.
That's
Thank you.
part of one of those things
Yeah.
that we've tried to reassign.
Any other questions? Select board, you got a motion?
Make the motion 26,190.
Second, for select board, for $26,190 for the Albany Select Board. All in favor? Opposed? One, abstention, none.
Okay, we have $26,190 for Office of the Select Board. We have a motion. Dan, thank you. Okay, any discussion? Does anyone feel that not giving the select board a stipend is affecting anyone's willingness to participate? Or ability?
Wasn't that big.
It's like $700, right? Yeah, I know it.
I never expected one. I was surprised the first year of the select board in the spring came in. Very nice, but it doesn't affect your living.
Yeah, it's probably not gonna be.
You didn't go, that's why you.
Ooh. Any other discussion?
I just wanted to add, we did 400 town reports for the current year and 350 the year before, but they all got.
Thank you.
Sure.
Where did I get 3,000?
I don't know.
$1,000 is the.
Oh, that's right.
Ready to vote? All those in favor? What's that? Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7,
She votes yes. Kelly votes yes.
8. All those opposed? 1. Thank you.
Next on page 3, do you want, just keep going, John? Town manager, that would be myself and my amazing administrative assistant. Salary increases and benefits are self-explanatory. When you get to operating expenses, postage and mailing, I took down a little bit. There's not a lot of mail that goes out of my office. It's mostly email, which is free. Also, when it comes to, I kept the supplies I actually added money to the supplies because that seems to be where some of, where most of my operating budget does go. I reduced the training and educational line item because I haven't used that. $400 should be perfectly sufficient for this year. And I also reduced the mileage. I gotta tell you, I drive around, but I don't often think about putting it in. Really use it unless I'm going to Bangor or to some class that's not reasonably local.
Questions?
I know telephone, internet, and utilities just split among a bunch of departments.
We fall under municipal building.
Okay, so when Fidium comes online, will the town look at those rates to see if it can reduce that cost in the future?
If they would take over our phone service, which we've talked to them about already. So yes, we are.
Okay.
Yes.
Simple question.
Yeah. But that will be in, you'll see that later on in the municipal building.
Okay. Oh, registered, we're in the municipal building, but your answer makes sense.
I'm in the municipal building, but
Any other questions? Would like to make a motion.
Make a motion 179,590.
Second for 179,590. Any other discussion from the staff board?
I'd just like to say, it sounds like a reasonable increase. We live in inflationary times.
I'd also like to add, she's worth every penny of it.
well, that's not all me. That's not all me. I just want to make that clear. Just a funny side, my daughter got to vote for the first time as a resident in Waldeboro last year. And when she was actually in the voting booth, she came out and later on she said to me, she goes, "Geez, Mom, I had to vote for your budget." And I was like, "That's not all me." It was just kind of a funny side story.
But we're all in favor? 4. No. Abstention?
Okay. Okay, it's $179,590. Is that correct? I wasn't listening.
Make a motion for that.
Thank you. Any seconds? Jan? Did you? Okay. Any discussion further? All those in favor? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I'm losing track of her yeses. Kelly.
I vote yes. I'm a yes.
Very much. Okay, 9-0.
Assessment service.
So the payroll compensation and benefits are pretty self-explanatory. We did have a postage increase, so he does mail a lot out. So there is a postal increase. Also printing of the tax bills because we have been including inserts. You'll notice that we have printed on the past on the back of the tax bill, and we've also included inserts, so that accounts for other information being sent with the tax bills. So those were his increases. And the other large increase is under equipment maintenance. And honestly, this comes out of the proprietary, we use a program called Trio. It's a proprietary computer program for the assessment features in our computer system and our online system. So it's his real estate assessing programming, also the sketching and drafting programs. And it also provides for our online information for current assessments that people can look up. So that's what accounts for that. So when you go online, you get to see the up-to-date information, and then if you click on, you can see a sketch of the property with all the measurements. So all of that has to be online. And also on the cards that if you ever go into our office, you'll see, you can still come in and look at a paper property record card.
The equipment maintenance line seems to be chronically underestimated. Is that
Part of the issue is that we don't typically get the Trio updated what it's going to cost next year.
yeah.
So we try to anticipate. We did this year, though. We actually got it in time. So this should be a good number.
It's increased 30%.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's, like I said, a lot of this is driven by, there's only 2 systems that you can use, or maybe there's 3 now in the whole state, and this is the midline system. So it's all of our accounting. Trio handles all of our finance, our accounting, our registrations. So that's the program we use. when you
Oh,
come
so
in.
this is only a portion.
That's only a portion. This is just his portion of what he's in charge of. Plus, when we went to more services online, because of changing hours for the town office to allow people to go online and get information, that also included a lot of this information. So it allows real-time information on our website. So it's that interface between the software that we utilize and what you see on our website. We pay more, you'll see when we get down to finance, more of that Trio cost.
Yeah, I was just looking at you're giving,
Do it, I guess, up for you.
Mhm.
Is travel and meeting expenses in 24, he was way, that he's over so far this year. Is that gonna be enough for 26?
It should be. So sometimes he can't use Shelley and he has to use his own vehicle for when he is out assessing. When we do have to reimburse him.
Shelley being the.
Shellfish truck, I'm sorry.
Shellfish
truck. Sorry. Shellfish truck.
Uber named Shelley.
It's an Uber named Shelley, yeah.
I was picturing a donkey.
No.
Any other questions for assessment?
I have a quick question about the programs he uses. This sketch in this detailed maps of people's property. It's possible, including all structures that you're aware of, correct?
Yes.
Is that publicly accessible, that information?
Yes, when you go into our website, you bring up what property you want to look at, and there's a tab you should be able to click on, and it shows the buildings. It doesn't show your property. It's not a survey, but it will show, like, say your main house is 3,200 square feet. It will show your house at a.
Are those just the regular lot maps that are updated, or is that a?
This is just your housing portion of it. So the tax maps are a whole separate function.
Oh, so this is another
This is
way to view.
This is how you would view it'll tell you how much land you have. And it will show how big the dwellings are. And it gives you like the class of building and your breakdown. Exactly what's on your property record card. And sometimes there's a picture.
And all of these things we pay separately for.
Correct.
I get an invoice that's like the full all of the different
Hmm.
categories. So like for assessing, we have networking fees, personal property, real estate, sketching program, online annual hosting fee, photos, sketches, and another hosting fee. That's what the 13,002 makes up. Like a nickel and dime you.
Way in the cloud.
So are there requirements of what is online? What information is posted online
What do you mean requirements that we
by the
have to?
state?
No.
or- Okay,
But it was done because we. Back in 2020, when there was a big push for everything to go online, and then the office staff was, everybody's hours were cut. It was, how do you still provide information to people who might need it? And that was, let's take advantage of being online. But other than that, he would still need to, I will tell you. That we are unique in that most towns just use the computer. They don't have the card system updated along with the
oh,
computer.
really?
And probably when Daryl finally retires, we probably will not have the card system. We will probably just go to a computer-based system.
What's the value of the card system?
You can walk in here and look at it.
You could-
You can go online and you can
Right.
walk in here and go online.
I think it's, just something that's always been done in the last 40 years, and it's
Okay, well,
still,
well, it's interesting because it's like recreation software. You have to think that that promotes efficiencies, right? And this software probably helps with efficiencies also, meaning makes the person more productive or able to be more productive, utilizes time more. So we should take advantage of that.
but it's, and he does, and also in there is the, Swift and I can't think of the other name that's on there, but the actual valuation, computer program. Swift and Marshall,
How
got
much,
it,
how much of this is duplicated at the county level, if any?
none.
None? Who does the surveys for the county? Do we,
We don't, they don't, that's, if there is a survey file, that's something that a resident pays for. We don't do a survey.
who takes that data and enters it into our book of plan?
Our book,
Our
tax maps,
tax maps, yeah.
Daryl, all by hand.
Okay.
And that is, we just had a meeting about, we do have the maps digitized. And then we were having a meeting about having them updated, and he's one of the very few left that actually knows how to take a deed and do a drawing from the deed onto the tax map, and that's how the tax maps are updated. Typically, you have to pay an outside. Once a year, you pay somebody from the outside to come in and do that. So we're getting a very good deal with a lot of the knowledge that he has from doing it for so long. Probably the next person that comes won't be able to replicate that.
I'm coming at this question from a different perspective. It's nice to have a non-electronic copy somewhere,
Yeah, it is.
you know, EMP, you know, and who knows?
That's what
It may not matter after that, who knows?
That's what a PDF is for.
But paper copies, and when I asked this question over at the county, they said they had all their records on microfiche.
Mhm.
And
We have some records on microfiche. We learned how to, we taught Max how to use the microfiche viewer this year.
I would like to see the town have its records in some sort of non-electronic format, even if it's locked away in a attic somewhere, just in case. Maybe.
So having historically not been at these meetings, last year's difference in pay was 4% and this year's increase in pay is 4%. Is this something that historically has carried through, and is that what we're expecting in the future?
I would say probably not expecting that in the future. But we did give 4% across the board. For non-union employees. And again, part of that is, and I've said this with the other employees, is that we are not a social security town, and also we are if you are non-public safety, you are in a different pension fund.
Yeah. Well, I mean, not 4% across the board for everybody who's not, because EMS was definitely way more than 4%.
Right, but I meent but they're, right, so non-union, non-public safety employees.
Yeah, there are two things I'd like to say. One is I get very concerned when Daryl decides he doesn't want to be an assessor anymore. And the other thing is that it's really nice to come into the town office and sit head to head with the assessor and go over that physical map that we have and not have to rely on a PDF file.
And I also should point out that 2 years ago, we did the land value. No, house reassessment, and this year we're doing the land reassessment, and he doesn't get anything extra for that. It's all in his salary. Typically what towns do is they hire an outside appraisal company to come into your town and do those appraisals. And then you have a certain amount of time to come and chat. We are fortunate in that Daryl does that, has always viewed it as part of his job. It's not an extra. Even in towns that have assessors do them, they normally typically get extra. He doesn't do that. And I also have that fear. He has agreed, though, to stay and train the person who would take over from him at some point, so.
In that regard, there are intern programs out there. Would it be, aren't we allowed to look into one of those to get an intern under Daryl? And
So-
maybe interest him longer term in what we do?
So I'm gonna give you my experience with interns in public service. Typically, an intern, in my experience, has been they would like to come and they would like to get knowledge and then off they go. And that takes a lot of time and energy with them. I haven't seen in my career one that stayed. But I don't know how much time and energy you'd want to invest in somebody so that they could go someplace else. So I don't know how. I don't know how I would feel about that one, especially for that program. I don't mind sharing knowledge and knowing that they're leaving, but I just don't think they would stay. But there are very few options that we would have. There's not a lot of assessors running around.
Yeah.
So if anybody's out there that wants to be an assessor, come and see us. We did, when we interviewed for town clerk, meet somebody in town who had applied that we thought might fit that bill though someday. So we have kept them in the back of our minds.
Any other questions on the investment there?
Make a motion of 110,711.
Moved and seconded. 10/7/11. Any more discussion from the select board? All in favor? 5.
Okay, we've got 110/7/11 for assessment services. Motions,
So moved.
thank you. Second,
Second.
thanks, Michael. Any more discussion? All those in favor? 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 9, thank you, Kelly.
We've been here 2 hours. A couple more?
Sure.
I'm up for it.
Page 7 is finance customer service, and I will turn this over to our finance director. Do you want to do it, Peg, or would you like me to do it?
So 200 finance customer service, for this current year, we have 3 people that fall under the realm of finance. I don't know if you guys remember last year, we added a deputy tax collector position for not a full part of the year in anticipation of our current tax collector retiring. So in this budget, that's the main thing that you see is the change from the current year that we're in 25 to the next year.
Excuse me,
Julie and I
Peg,
went-
do you have a microphone down there?
Oh, move it.
Kelly
Sorry.
was requesting it.
Sorry.
Thank you.
Hold it. We'll put it on there. Okay. Oh, was it?
It's as far as I can get it.
Oh, there. Basically, what I was saying, Kelly, is that. That was me.
There we go.
Hello? Is anybody home? And so anyway, what I was saying is the biggest drivers for the finance department are changes in personnel and how that affects benefits. Currently, we have 3 people that are covered under the finance department, and this upcoming budget, we were trying to figure out if we would have 3 again and how that might affect the budget. Julie and I kind of went back and forth, just not sure what would be best for the town. And then I think she said this in her beginning part to the budget proceedings, that it's nice having the 3rd person there. It helps fill in the gaps when there's absences or other projects going on for the other staff members. So we decided to put someone in there, so we would have 3 people, but not full-time. So at 24 hours a week. So that was the main, like I said, the main change. When we don't know if we're going to hire, but we don't know what their family status is, we always have to anticipate full family coverage for health insurance, and that is like applicable to all departments. We'd make our best judgment if we don't know, but we anticipating hiring someone. So now that we've hired someone, it's changed for the 2026 year.
Evan?
You get a couple, advertising. Okay.
Usually those are jobs.
What's that?
Advertising is usually jobs.
I understand that, but.
Oh, sorry.
Yep, is was budgeting over 1,000 and we're only using $900.
Okay, let me see. Take a look and see what.
And even back, all the way back to 2024, we only used $170 and we budgeted 1,200, so.
Yeah,
Um,
I see that.
would 500 be, cover that if we've only spent the max 170 in the last 2 budgets?
Yeah,
I
It's not only, it's also
It's-
lean advertising.
it's public notices.
It's public
Liquor
notices.
licenses.
And we have not done a foreclosure of tax acquired properties in the last 2 years because of the legal changes, and we probably will be doing that in the coming year. So all of that is going to have to, so any tax liens, if we're going to go through a tax acquired property foreclosure, there's so much new in the law, I would leave that there. Just so that we're covered when we have to do advertising in the Lincoln County News.
that now postage and mailing. Is way off. As well, I mean, it was 4,500 in 24. I mean, you've only used 350 of your 9,200 this year.
Right.
I'm just wondering. Is there wiggle room to reduce that as well?
I think there could be. Part of that is mailers that we have to use, like we have to get a 3rd class mailers for tax collection purposes. Let's see.
What do you anticipate using for the rest of this year?
It's kind of hard to say. So I get postage from other places, like other departments sometimes
Yep.
say it has to go in there too, but if you wanted to take it down, I'd be comfortable with taking it down.
The 6,000 be plenty.
Um,
Like I said, you've only used, in 2024, you used 50.
right, but with,
This year, you've only used 350, so
yeah, I think we could do that. So what do you,
that sounds like 2024 looked like it was a busy year.
right? So what would you like to do? What was the,
I just want to again say,
I know.
But you got 1,049 up here for the same situation.
that's for
Okay, advertising.
advertising. That's advertising like.
But
no-
you're still doing mailers. You said you was doing mailers out of that.
No, I meant, well, when I was talking about advertising, I was talking about legal advertising, like in the newspaper. But for postage, all of that has to be sent certified.
Yeah, for sure.
We've got at least 45. Right now, if we have to send notices for liens, we have to send, there's 45 properties, and so that's 3 notices. I'm just saying, like, I don't know what the future holds, so I would just be a little bit more generous with that, which is probably why the 350 is low, because we're just getting into that season now.
So make it 7,000.
I would feel much better at 7.
All right, I make a motion to change that number to 7,000. $2,600 $6 reduction.
So that's gonna make your total.
Hold on, I can tell you just a sec. 278,707,
How we gonna?
unless there's something else. 278,707.
More motion, we're gonna make a motion now, you wanna?
I can wait.
Good.
There's one. At the end. Yeah.
Similar question on 60-30 equipment maintenance. It's kind of the same thing. 24, 13,000. And then 2025 year to date is at 13 is. And thank you, you did lower $559, but are you thinking you're gonna spend 17,960?
It was the estimates that we thought for the programming that we needed. That includes like all the motor vehicle transactions at the counter.
That's the Trio system again. That was
Um,
the assessor system.
Right.
also-
Historically.
It also includes leases that we have. We have 2 leases for Xerox.
Well, that's the line above.
Different line.
I'm just looking in 2024, it was 13.
I didn't mean to say, I'm sorry, I misspoke. We have maintenance agreements with our printers.
Yeah.
That's included in that figure.
In what, the 60/20?
60/30.
Okay.
60/20 is a lease for the photocopier and postage meter.
But we had leases for those in 2024 also, right?
Yeah, so it's the Trio portion of, that's the budgetary, all the budgetary software, the motor vehicle processing, the billing, collections, cash receipts, Moses rapid renewal and paid for.
Maybe I misunderstood when you were talking about assessment, you said you knew what those costs were.
Yes,
were gonna
so
be.
that's what that's part of part of what we knew is going to be is the 17, part of that's in the 17,960.
I guess what I'm seeing.
Think saying it before they didn't have this accurate number until.
Yeah,
That's
I'm
good,
just
but
looking at,
now it's-
I'm just looking
But
at.
still, it's still 13,000 versus.
Yeah, I'm just looking at comparing the Trio and the assessment is, it's only a 3,000 delta and okay.
And some of it's updating. I can't know what updates they had to make in their software. So her software might be less of an increase than his software would have been. We're going by what they quoted us.
Licensing's the worst.
Sorry, yeah.
Okay, I just curiosity, what's Moses?
Moses is the.
Inland fisheries
You
and
gave another
wildlife.
initial. Go ahead.
Hunting licenses, boat, registering your boat.
Why is it called Moses?
I think it's an acronym.
Okay, just curious.
You know, license, everything's attached to that Moses number. I've had that number for. It doesn't matter what license. I
Joe
get.
Moses, huh?
That's my number and that's my identity to IFW.
Any other questions?
Can you read that out thing?
Sure. Was there anything else? Was it just?
I think everything.
Okay, 278,707.
Second.
Moving second for 2,000, I'm sorry, $278,702.
$707.
$707 for finance and customer service. Any more discussion from the select board? All in favor? 5-0.
Okay, so were you voting on the motion to change the number or just voting on the number?
Change, that's the number, yeah.
That was the
That's-
change.
That's the change.
Okay,
That was the number that was changed.
all right. We could do that. So we have $278,707 for finance customer service.
So moved.
Thank you, Jan.
Second.
Thank you. Any more discussion? All those in favor? 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8,
Yes.
and 9. Yeah. Takes me a minute to read you, Kelly.
Thank you.
Town clerk.
You want me to do it, Pam, or do you want to do it? I can.
Up to you. You can do it.
Well, I'll at least go over the payroll compensation. So this is an actual wage adjustment, and this is due because our outgoing tax collector used to be the agent, which is what you are so she's no longer the agent, so the new agent, Pam, took that role on, so you have to be a registered and certified agent to be able to every town has to have one for vehicle registration so that we can get those agent fees that are in the nice revenue line item. So typically that was a role that the tax collector filled, but the town clerk is going to fill that role now. So with increased responsibility, that was my recommended wage adjustment for the town clerk. That's where that number came from. So it wasn't just a 4% flat for this specific position. Your operating budget, if you would like.
Sure. Let's see. My advertising covers public hearings, election notification. I think my postage, as it says, it's 0. I think that might have gotten plugged into Peg's postage because
You're welcome.
I spent a lot of money on postage this year. We had a pretty good size election and a lot of people wanted it mailed to them, so.
We like elections.
We like elections. I think that kind of Peg paid for that for me. Thank you. My equipment, we added a 3rd voting machine because our ballots in June are so large. And I got it for last June, but they deferred the payment until July 1st. So that's why that is so large at this point. That's about it.
And that third machine has made a world of difference.
Huge difference. It's worth every
People are not complaining as they're voting.
huge difference. When you have a 6-page ballot and you have to feed them in one at a time, and you can just imagine, well, you've been there and seen it. It can take quite a while per person.
And everybody who votes for absentee, somebody still has to feed their ballots.
That's our fault, you know, because we
It
have
is.
so many lines on our.
You added so many lines
our
last year.
I will say though, I don't know, maybe this isn't the spot to say it, but I'm gonna say it. The added lines, people appreciated that. Did hear positive comments on that last year. I know we were debating on making it another page longer, but people liked their choice.
Just like to add one thing, last election, there was a contested position. And the voting machines and the town clerk came to the exact same number.
That was a huge learning process.
I'll tell you, I can see the relief in your face when that happened.
Thanks.
Michael, what do you print and bind?
The binding, I think, is that the, is that part of the town report? But
No.
printing, that includes a lot of my ballots, isn't it? Is that
Yeah,
under
fill
that?
your ballots.
Yeah, ballots are,
Voting information. packets.
yeah. Ballots are expensive. You pay per page. And when you have to order enough for 1,800 people, a lot of money.
Is that figure enough on the printing and binding? Because in 2024, you went over and we haven't gotten there yet this year.
Yes, it depends on how many questions we have.
Well, part of the problem was in 2024, it being a presidential year, more
Mhm.
turnout, so that probably won't happen again this year.
Those are all your costs for coding. It includes the ballot machine coding and things like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, they have
To
to
print
code-
them, there's lots of things involved.
I don't know if you noticed, but around your ballot, it's got all those little black marks. Those are all coded specific to those machines. So that's why you can't put your state ballot in the local machine or vice versa, because they're coded specifically. So we have to pay for that coding.
And they tried to charge her a ton of money for shipping, but she,
They
Turned
charge,
out.
what was it, like $4,000? I called them
Crazy.
up. I said, I could have driven out in there, picked them up and come back myself for a lot less than that. And they realized they did a big goof and by like $3,000 or something like that. Yeah, shipping is expensive too, because if the ballot's not done in time and we have to expedite it, that's cost a lot of money expediting, it, which is why I try to say we need the warrant done by this day or we're paying for it. Because by law, you have to have the ballots available 30 days prior to the election. And if I don't have them here to hand out, people don't like that. So,
so we paid $148.44 for freight. Instead of thousands.
mhm. Yeah.
Any other questions from the town clerk? So would like to.
Make the motion $110,019.
Second. Board moved second $110,019. Any more discussion from the select board? All in favor? Opposed?
Okay, we get $110,019 for the town clerk's department. Or office with office. department.
I make a motion.
Thank you, John.
Second.
Jeff? Any more discussion?
Not discussion, but I would just like to commend Pam on doing such a great job as town clerk. It is not an easy task, especially in recent years, and you handle it with grace. So thank you.
I'll second that. Any other comments? All those in favor? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9.
And I vote yes, yes.
Thank you, Kelly.
Say you're finishing up that bunch on the green paper, let's do 12.
If that's. Yes, I'd like to hold off on that, just because, as I explained the first night, we have a new HVAC system, which is running off of electric and off of, our, solar farm up at the transfer station. So I haven't gotten the bills from the fuel oil for the full month of February, which is our only month that I'm gonna have to really give you an idea of what the switchover looked like. So I'd just like a little bit more time to get in the last 2 weeks of February's bills from our fuel oil supplier, because that'll give me a good idea of what we're gonna do in the winter, because we're still running the EMS bay and the fire bay off Modine heaters, which are run by fuel oil. But this side of the building and the office and the break room on the fire side are all now on electric through heat pumps. So I have the electric bills. I have the cascade where we're getting them. So our building's hitting first off the cascade from the solar farm. I just want to be able to adjust anything that we need to adjust so that they're accurate numbers.
We jumped to 32 to fire hydrants, page 32.
Did everybody get my email on fire hydrants? So the fire hydrant email that I sent out explained the history of how the fees were charged. I can tell you what that said, because
I have a hard copy right here.
Oh, yeah.
Just because I thought it wasn't included it.
Yes, there was a discussion, I think, the first night. So the answer to the hydrant question that was asked was, why do we pay ourselves? Was back when the town purchased the water department in 1999, the town was required to finance 30% of the revenue base required to operate the system. It was agreed to as part of the sale from a private entity, a person who owned the water company, to the town. It was agreed as part of the sale with the PUC, allowing the purchase to go through. And that was approved by the voters and the Public Utilities Commission. On March 1st, 2005, the Maine PUC granted an order for a rate increase to the Waldoboro Water Department. And that was a 24.8 increase in rates for public fire protection and increased 30% of, and that increased the 30% of revenue requirement. The effect was an annual increase in hydrant rentals from $64,212 annually to $80,160 annually for 40 hydrants. And that was the baseline fee that was established back in 2005. After March 1, 2005, charges for any new hydrants installed after March 1, 2005 would then be governed by Chapter 69 of the PUC rules and regulations. Fast forward, this is now where any new hydrants that are over that 40 are charged at the increase based on Chapter 69. So, the argument that was made by the town itself in 99 and 2005 was that there's an inherent public good for non-users of the water system, including water being brought to Miller School, where residents send children from all over the community. They also cited that the water company serves medical facilities, government services, including the filling of fire trucks. They also noted, and this was just an interesting thing at the time, that Sylvania was serviced by the water line. And in our strongest, and was our strongest economic driver. Again, this was in 1999. It is also public infrastructure for fire protection. So that's the history of how it evolved. So that's why we pay ourselves. That was what the town had decided back in 99 when they voted to take over the water department that was failing at the time. Where? Little history. You're welcome.
Second. Second. All in favor? Opposed, none, 5-0.
90,000 for fire hydrants. Do we have a motion?
So moved. Second.
Thank you. Any discussion, questions? All those in favor? 3, 4, 6, 7, 8.
And I'm a yes.
Thank you, Kelly. 9-0.
Streetlights.
So streetlights, back in 2020, we converted them to,
I just wanted to see if you wanted to back up a page. I think we might have skipped EMA, emergency management,
You coming in?
31.
You May first.
this is emergency management. This is for our emergency management coordinator. It is a nominal cost to the town. But this is the person who, if there is an emergency in town, does all the coordination with all the departments. And most importantly, he is the one who prepares our reimbursement grants from FEMA. And I can tell you that over the years, he gets typically, if there is an emergency, a declared emergency, that we are reimbursed very nicely for the work that we do. So if there is like the windstorm, if you'll recall, we had a windstorm 2 years ago. He fills out all of the grant requirements and the forms to get reimbursed from FEMA, and he does a fantastic job. I can tell you that during COVID, he did a phenomenal job, him and Peg together, working on all the reimbursement from the federal government. So he's also a member of our fire department and our EMS. Very versatile.
Make a motion, $7,298.
Second. Move the second to select board for $7,298. All in favor? 5-0.
We have 7298 for emergency management.
So moved.
Thank you. Any more discussion? All those in favor? Brendan. All those in favor? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8.
And I'm a yes.
Thank you, Kelly. 9-0.
Streetlights. So, page 33, in 2020, we converted to LED. Back then, we were spending $17,000 in streetlights. We are under $5,000 in electric, and the increase is a slight increase because we are responsible now for when they have to be repaired. We use a local electrician who works on our electric here, and he also does all of our streetlight replacement, which saves us considerable amount of money. We have the ability to also provide a bucket truck that we now have in our arsenal up at Public Works that we got a few years ago. So the repair of those are easier and cheaper than if we were to hire an outside company to come and do it.
Make a motion of $6,348.
Second. Select board moved and seconded, $6,848 for streetlights. More discussion? All in favor? 5.
$6,348 for streetlights. Entertain a motion. Second, thank you. Any discussion? All those in favor? 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8.
And I'm a yes.
Thank you, Kelly. 9-0.
Right through. 30, half hour. Got a lot done. Yeah. The motion to, you want to keep going?
Make that motion to adjourn.
Budget committee.
What's your pleasure?
Motion to adjourn.
Before we adjourn, I'd just like to say that it's going through the finance and town clerk and assessor and town manager. Made me think how fortunate we are in Waldburg to have the people that we have who are running these departments and as part of the building here. I think we should all just thank them or just be grateful that they're here.
I second that.
Okay, well, now we gotta move here. Did we have a motion, Michael?
Yes, I moved.
Did we have a second?
I second it.
Second, how about a vote? All those in favor? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8.
And I'm a yes.
Okay.
Are we
Thank you very
meeting,
much.
Well, the
do we
budget
meet on
committee-
Thursday?
The budget committee
No,
adjourned.
this week.
Okay.
You meet next Monday.
Motion to adjourn.
Select board pleasure.
Second.
Second,
Next Monday, Kelly, we meet.
moved and seconded, all in favor of adjourning for the select board? Again, next Monday is the next time for the select, for the combined meeting.